Good afternoon, everyone. Last class, we talked about how to approach the syllabus and what needs to be done. Today, the session is basically on the Unit 4, first paper, Sociological Thinkers, which I have always called the heart and soul of sociology. Any one of you, whosoever is inclined or who has decided to take sociology as an optional, should be very comfortable, should have a certain kind of understanding and a control on these 6 thinkers which have been there in your syllabus. And thinkers are not to be viewed as a monster. What you basically needed to understand, that you needed to go to their time scale to understand their thought process and their analysis. Usually what we do, that while reading any thinker, we try to understand the thinkers from our own time. No. The time scale has changed. Society has changed. So you just take this opportunity to go back to the thinkers. And no thinker grows as a wild plant. If I could quote Marx, that thinker is not a wild plant which will grow anywhere. Every thinker is a byproduct of his own time. You need to look at that socio-historical background of the thinkers. And I insist every student whosoever is opting sociology or whosoever is inclined towards sociology or thinking to pick up sociology, you basically need to go to that social background, socio-historical background to understand the thinkers. And in this socio-historical background, you basically need to look at the social, economic, political, intellectual debates at that time. Since the thinker would be part and parcel of that debate which is going on, he would be grooming in the social, his origin would be social, his thought would be social. Just take this much pain before coming to knowing what the thinker has said. Look at the socio-historical background. And once you have read this socio-historical background, try to find out with whom he has agreed, with whom he has disagreed, and what newness which has brought. More precisely, with whom he has disagreed, and what has been the point of disagreement, and what noviceness, what newness that has been brought by the thinkers. So your first attempt to look at the thinkers is to go to the socio-historical background to understand it. Though it is not written, the moment you pick up the syllabus, you find about the certain words, certain concepts, terms written before the thinkers. And we usually try to look at that phenomenon. No. Because the moment sometimes the certain kind of question comes out, which require your mastery over the thinkers, you fall apart. You become uncomfortable, that the question you don't understand. It is only because that we do not go to the background. So your first attempt should be, once again I am saying, to be comfortable with the socio-historical background of the thinker. I'll let you know, one by one today I'll be talking about, in a brief, all the 6 scholars I'll introduce you, so that you would be able to understand that why this thought has come and why such kind of themes which are there in the syllabus, they have been there. And once you have known the socio-historical background, then read like a story. And don't read for UPSC. Time and again I have been saying it. I have been saying it to my son as well. That whenever you pick up any unit, whenever you pick up something to read for yourself first. Not for the exam. And once you read for yourself, just go through. Cursory one, just go through it as you are reading a story. And once you have done that one, then come to the focused one. And in this very perspective, your approach would basically be making you look at the things in a very different manner. I always say that 3 readings of the thinkers is must. First, in a tentative one. As you read the story, and every story has a certain protagonist. So you have the 6 stories, 6 protagonists, right from Karl Marx to Emile Durkheim to Max Weber to Talcott Parsons to Robert King Martin to George Herbert Mead. And try to link this with the themes which have been there in the syllabus. So the first one, when we're talking about sociological thinkers, your first attempt should be to go for socio-historical background. And once we go to the socio-historical background, find out agreement and more in terms of influence and disagreement. And there, try to know how they have disagreed with one. And that is a must be. And once you have done this one, then the second part that you will have to do it, which is the most important one. Remember 3 words: theme, concepts, and method. Themes, which is in a syllabus. While reading it, suppose you are talking about alienation, you are talking about modes of production, or you are talking about class struggle of Karl Marx, or you are talking about division of labor, suicide, elementary forms of religious life of Durkheim. This is the theme which is written there, which is there is given in syllabus. With every theme, which are the important concepts? It means that theme, which is in the syllabus, has a certain concepts which are part of that theme. That concepts must be written down. And the major change in every thinker is his orientation, the perspectives through which they have tried to look at the phenomena. And that way, the methodology could be understood. Methodology will set apart one from another. Same phenomena here, if I am talking about this marker, someone can view it in terms of bottom, someone can see it from the front. Their analysis may differ. It means the point is which I am trying to make you understand that the same unit, same social phenomena can be picked up by the 2 scholars, could be viewed differently, and could be interpreted, analyzed differently, for which you need to understand what methodology they have brought. All right. And in this very perspective, the thinkers are to be approached. Now let me pick up one by one. इसको बढ़ा बेटा, नहीं बढ़ रहा है, बढ़ नहीं रहा है. ठीक. Now suppose if I am talking about theme, concepts, and a method. Let me pick up one of the most tedious scholar, Emile Durkheim. And one of the entry of Durkheim to sociology would be division of labor. Now, what were the questions which Durkheim addressed? What prompted Durkheim to pick up division of labor for analysis? If such kind of questions are coming, that could be addressed only when you have become familiar with the socio-historical background. And what are the concepts which will be coming out? The first concept that will be coming out would be in terms of collective conscience. Then we will also be talking about the law, repressive and restitutive law. Then you will be talking about the concept that is the metaphor, mechanical and organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity, similarity between similars. It is a resemblance of similars. Organic solidarity is similarity between these similars. It means these are the concepts which must come. And once you have done this one, then you have to talk about moral individualism, homo duplex. And once you have done this one, moral individualism, homo duplex, you will be finding certain offbeat questions like pathological forms of division of labor. So here, of division of labor. And then in the methodology, you will be finding about ECG, all right? You will be finding about causal functional analysis. You will be finding the traces of positivism. You'll be finding, last class I talked about that how sociology in a nascent stage was influenced by natural science and the natural laws. The development of sociology is on the premise that as the natural scientists are discovering the natural laws to understand the natural phenomena, so should be the responsibility of the sociologist to discover the social laws to understand the social phenomena. And from there we started linking, not only differentiating sociology with the common sense, we also talked about sociology as a science, and in which we talked about positivism, non-positivism. This debate has come out. And then you have to talk about methodology, rules of sociological method, in which you need to talk about ECG, E for external, C for constraint, G for generality. Generality further divided into normal and pathological. So you'll be finding about social facts, all right? And once you have done this one day, believe me, in a one page, you have picked up all the themes, you have picked up the concepts, and you have known their interpretations in terms of methodology. And pick it like suicide, pick it like religion, all right? And that way the things will be done. So the moment you have done this one, that way the things will be coming. Now, if you are talking about one by one, now if I talk about a milder kind, what I said, go for socio-historical conditions. Be familiar with whom he incorporated, with whom he deviated, changed, became critical of. All right? Many times while reading Durkheim, you will be finding about Durkheim has combated everyone who has provided the individualistic analysis in sociology. And that would be applicable to the classical economists like Adam Smith, to Herbert Spencer and others. He would be moving away from the demographers like Warwick Hiller. He will be moving away from law of imitation, Gabriel Tard. So you just know it. Point of difference in opinion, that has to be talked about. And then Durkheim was basically trying to look at the modern form of integration, the way it has been romanticized, that the Simpler societies are small, less populous, not differentiated. So solidarity, harmony is there, integration is there, cohesiveness is strong. The moment we find about transition from the simpler to the modern society, where specialization has emerged out, differentiation emerged out, conflict, tensions, all have emerged out. Durkheim does agree. But let me make two lines. That despite this increasing differentiation and specialization, cohesion is not forfeited, Durkheim says, unquote. And then he says, why individual while becoming autonomous depends more on society. That is the prime question what Durkheim addressed. And thus, since he was more concerned of the modern form of integration, hence you will be finding about the words like solidarity, mechanical to organic. All right. Once you have done this, then you just look at the themes along with concepts. All right. And once you have done this concept, then I said that you need to look at the methods. Jot down. I'm not saying writing. Points only. That this is the theme. Here he has differed. Here he has incorporated. All right. And how he is basically looking at sui generis reality of society. That the reality that is irreducible, that cannot be reduced to the psychological motivation, the psychological predisposition of the individual. Now, when the moment you come to this line, now link it with the first unit, where you are talking about relationship of sociology with other social sciences and more precisely sociology with psychology. All right. Link it. I told you last class that interlinkages are to be done. Because these are the prime six thinkers who are to be used everywhere in a paper 1 and also to be in a paper 2. And I'll let you know tomorrow how the other scholars came out and how they have to be focused. But today our major concern is the heart and soul of the sociology. Unless and until you have a mastery about the thinkers, it is too difficult to be comfortable with the sociology as an optional. And that's why I said they are not monsters. They are the human beings like us. Only thing is that we are the future of the thinker. You'll have to go to that past where the thinker has come out. We'll have to look at that very perspective. And once you have jotted down, similarly try to look at the other scholars. For example, if I picked up this one, then let me pick up Karl Marx, a thinker of the centuries. All right. Same socio-historical condition. I quoted today that no thinker is a wild plant who will grow anywhere. My existence is social, Marx says. Go to that social dimension. I don't know how you people will react and how you people have approached Marx. I always make a line that there is nothing new in Marx. You pick up any concept, you pick up any theme of the Marx which is written in the syllabus. These themes have already been talked about prior to Marx. What a newness Marx has brought. Marx is a very clever mason, collecting the bricks from every mason's yard to erect his own building that today we call Marxism. All right. And precisely if I said, like if I make a triangle like this, then Hegel, from whom he will be borrowing the concept of dialectics. But he will be replacing idealism of Hegel with materialism. And that way, historical materialism as a method will be coming out. You say historical materialism or dialectical materialism, it means this methodology is there. Try to understand what dialectics is. To argue, Greek word. Argue to arrive at a conclusion, generalization. Then you will be coming about the concept like thesis, antithesis, synthesis, being, not being, becoming. The certain laws from quantity to quality, quality to quantity. All right. Law of union of opposites. That way, the certain dialectical part will come out. Then you talk about what idealism has been talked about in brief by Hegel. And why Marx moves away from idealism of a Hegel and replaces it with materialism. All right. Most of the things should be understood from it. And once you have done this one, then this is the first part that you will have to do it. Then you will be finding about the certain ideas on socialism and others. Then Saint Simon and others. Right from the 1830s revolution in France, 1848 revolution in France, the socialist left have emerged out there against the bourgeois society. Now, how they have visualized socialism and where Marx had differed from them, then look Marx in comparison of that one. And when Marx was exiled to London, then he came across the British politico-economic theory that is called labor theory of value, in which we will be talking about Adam Smith and others, which I am talking about British politico-economic theory, British politico-economic system, labor theory of value, that the value of a commodity is determined by the amount of work gone into it. That way capitalism has been analyzed by them. That way the product process has been analyzed by them. In relation to that labor theory of value, Marx comes out with a theory that is called theory of surplus value. That why the worker who produces something, he gets only half of it. Why someone who produces gets only one part of it. So what the worker produces, what he gets, the difference between them is the surplus value. Last class I said, your approach first should be in a layman's perspective. Then come to the necessary or use value, come to the exchange value, and then link it. Link with the modes of production, talk about the forces of production, talk about the relations of production, how these two parts of the modes of production become fetters. I am using the word of Marx for one another. A background of social revolution will come out. So you will be talking about modes of production, you will be talking about alienation, and ultimately you will be talking about the concept of class struggle. And this class struggle is also a corollary of historical materialism. And that way, your approach would be there. And once you have done it, then look at the certain areas on which the scholars have differed. I'll touch upon this one. Let me just pick up the third one if we are talking about the third one. That is, let me take another page. Max Weber. Theme is there in concepts which I have already, and then what method Weber has brought. Go to that socio-historical background. You need to know about German historicism, which Weber was a part of. Only one-liners. Wilhelm Dilthey, Wilhelm Windelband, Henry Rickert. That very German historicism that emerged in terms of the methods of natural and social sciences. That what should be the methods of natural and social sciences? That debate has emerged. The scholars have taken the sides. In terms of historians rising positivists, the debate has come. That what should be the specification in terms of methods of natural and social science. So you'll be finding about the idea of nomothetic ideographic from Dilthey, Windelband, Henrik Rickert, and then you'll be looking at how Weber is a part of this German historicism, and he picks up ideographic stand. Once you talk about ideographic, You'll find about certain questions coming in any two, nomothetic and ideographic. All right? That basis will become clear to you. You would be able to locate the questions and you will be able to understand why such questions came out. You will be talking about in terms of positivism, non-positivism. And why Weber picks up social action as the subject matter of sociology. Let me make a line. That Weber does say that not necessarily the social action is the only legitimate area of inquiry in sociology. And the moment you come across this line, that social action is not only the legitimate area of inquiry in sociology, it means there may be some other area of inquiry. And if there may be some other areas of inquiry in sociological investigation, then you ask the question yourself. Do not wait for the books. You ask the question that why Weber picks up social action. And this way we will be finding about the beginning of interpretive movement in sociological analysis. So sometimes you get the question in unit 1. Sociology is an interpretative understanding. All right? That interpretative understanding of social action is the subject matter of sociology. What sociologists need to do. Getting me? That way, the background is known. And then we will be finding about the non-positivist. It means we are talking about here the methods in ideographic, non-positivism. You are also talking about the interpretive movement in sociology, social action perspective. All right. And once you pick up the social action, relate the social action. Sometimes what we do, we are talking about legitimacy, sociology of legitimacy, in which we talk about power, authority, and legitimacy. We do not link it with the social action. We only say there are 3 types of authority: traditional authority, charismatic authority, legal rational authority. No, beta, you'll have to go first. That since there are 4 types of social action: traditional, affectional, word personal, joak rational, TAWZ. Remember this word, TAWZ. So why someone accepts someone's authority, legitimacy, it stems from these all 4 actions. When Weber comes to the analysis of organization, then these 4 types of legitimacy is reduced to 3. And that way you come across in the book traditional authority, charismatic authority, legal rational authority, and you start talking about bureaucracy and others. All right? Increasing rationality, modernization, views on modernization, then Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. Look it there. That social action is the base. Protestant ethics is a what rational action. A spirit of capitalism is a what is a joak rational action. Let me specify. What rational means? Value oriented. Joak rational is goal oriented. All right. Your understanding should be of that level. All right. And mind me, the moment you have approached in this manner, nothing will go wrong. You will feel comfortable yourself. That sometimes when you do something and you feel comfortable, your body language, your presentation, your mood, that reflects that yes, you are confident. For which you have done labor, and that much labor has to be done here. This will provide a different kind of aura to your personality. This will provide a different kind of comfortability to your understanding. All right? And then once you have done this one, the same thing we'll have to do in terms of Talcott Parsons. All right? I don't know how we'll be looking at whether you have come across, whether you will be coming across the methodological gap which has widened between Emile Durkheim and Max Weber was breezed by Talcott Parsons. A unique scholar in sociology who was known for grand mega theory. Then you need to talk about what were the certain traditions that whenever somebody tries to approach the society, he says there are plethora of theories. The moment you change the context, the moment you change the time, the theory falsifies. It shows its limitations. Then if social science, sociology, social science has to come at par with the natural science. How we need to integrate the different branches of social sciences. That way theorizing, grand scale theorizing would be the attempt of Talcott Parsons. And then 3, utilitarianism, Alfred Marshall, positivism, idealism, isn't it? That you will be finding about the 4 scholars and their impact on the person in social action. Social action being the building block of social system. You find the change. I don't know, when you look at the structure of social action 1937, the first book of Parsons. Parsons was nowhere near functionalism. We say Parsons is a structural functionalist. In the preface he wrote one line. Now who reads Spencer? Implying none. Because there in the social action he was more concerned of unit act. But the moment he picked up social system in 1951, Parsons was trapped. How to link the voluntaristic action of 2 actors, the goal-oriented actors. And thus it turned toward functionalism. Alright? Sociology, anthropology, psychology, all would be integrated. Alright? Either you are studying power, you are studying economy, you are studying society. You do not need to pick up the different theories. You do not need to fragmentalize that one. Go with the one theory. So take something from one, add something to them, and come out with the theory. Alright? And what would be the functional prerequisite of the social system? So we'll come to AGIL, isn't it? And whenever the actor goes for the goal orientation, there is a value dichotomy which will make you understand pattern variable. This is the theme which is written in the syllabus. So social action, what were the certain traditions which were analyzed by him, what he incorporated, where he changed, what he borrowed, what he added. Look at the social action. Then go for the social system. You begin from anywhere. In the thinkers, you will come to the core. You begin anything in their kind, social fact would come out. ECG will come out. You begin from anywhere, historical materialism would come out, dialectics will come out. You begin from anywhere. Social action to the religion in Weber. The same ideographic, historical account, non-positivist stand will come out. Similarly, if you pick up social action, you will be talking about social system. They are asking the question social system, you will begin with the social action. You need to talk about AGIL. You need to talk about pattern variable. And offlet what they are doing. Parsons has always been, the moment you read any book, will say, incurable theorist. Agreed. It has always been said that look at, he lives on the earth, moves on air. Agreed. But do you know that in terms of AGIL, when he started looking at the American educational system, he became empirical. When he started talking about the medical system, American medical system, modern medical system, he collected data in a pattern variable. So you are finding the questions in terms of cognitive consonance and a change, paradigm shift. Such kind of questions are coming that you need to know. It is not so that he has been incurable theorist. He is only proposing a theory away from the empiricism, for which he has always been criticized. All right. Look at. Once you have done this one, then mutton comes out. And I have always been saying that if you need to understand Weber, you need to understand Marx. You need to understand Durkheim. Durkheim, in terms of methodology, that comparison would be there. And if you want to understand the notion of class, capitalism of Weber, you need to understand Karl Marx. If you're talking about religion, you need to compare Durkheim with that of Weber. Now, let me quote 2 lines of Weber. That sociology to become science does not need to be positivistic in orientation. This is the first line. And even if sociology is not positivistic, objectivity does not prelude us. And that way you will be coming to the non-positivist interpretative movement in sociology. Alright. We'll also be talking about Karl Marx. What is the purpose of method? Is the purpose of method is to repeat the things which is already known? No. The purpose of method is to eradicate the self-doubt. And there the dialectical method as a critic to positivism will emerge out. Your unit 2 will be done here. Why you are looking at the piece of information, mugging up who said so, who said so? No, who said so has to be provided the locations. And that locations, last class I said about. Become familiar. Develop the content and provide the context. And similarly, if you are trying to understand mutton, without Talcott Parsons, you would not be able to comprehend mutton completely. All right. Parsons have been tutor of mutton. And I quote one line from Mutton. He says, out of so many teachers, one of the most influence which has been there on us has been a young tutor named Talcott Parsons. So when Parsons was basically trying to go for the prerequisite analysis, Mutton deviated from there. All right? You need to know that one. And once we have done this one, then we'll finding about that how the Ganges, which were basically analyzed from the reverse ways in a Parsons, is now made same. The pure empiricism of Mutton will come out. And Mutton would basically be talking about, from here I said, grand theory. All right. And here, RKM, Robert King Mutton, is called MRTs. Middle range theories, which is in between macro and micro. In a simple line, it is a fill in the blanks with any empirical category. You pick up functionalism. From here the syllabus begins of Mutton. All right. In a functionalism, we will be finding about how Mutton, rather than looking functionalism as an idea, is trying to approach function as a method. And once if we taking as a method, the multidimensional approach will be coming up. How he recognizes the contribution of anthropological tradition of functionalism, Malinowski, Radcliffe Brown, A.R. Radcliffe Brown. And there is sociological tradition, August Comte, Herbert Spencer, Emile Durkheim, Talcott Parsons. Anthropological tradition, in which Bronislaw Malinowski, A.R. Radcliffe Brown. And what changes anthropological dimension brought about? From conjecture to reality, from armchair to empiricism, from diachronic to synchronic. That impact on Mutton would be there. And once you will pick up the anthropological tradition of functionalism, he would also be introspecting the postulates of functional analysis. Isn't it? Unity, universality, indispensability. So that he will be arriving at the concept of functional alternative or substitute. No, when such kind of questions are there, they are not haphazard. They have their base. That base has to be understood by you. You need to understand function, dysfunction, non-function, manifest, latent, functional substitute or alternative. And the last class I said that you sometimes find the quotient serendipity. All right? That has to be talked about, serendipity. Mutton in his earlier talked about the serendipitous pattern. Adventure and Travels of Serendipity, that is the book he has co-authored. That much you have to labor. That much you have to know. If you really want to be comfortable with the thinkers. And when I say that he is basically proposing MRT, MRT is not a theory, MRT is a theories. That's why I say MRT is middle range theories. Apply that in a functionalism. Apply that in a deviance. And with the analysis of sociology of deviance, Martin for once and all will establish himself as a serious sociologist. That how social structure can constrain individual to go for a deviance. Huh? So how he will be differing from the previous analysis, where only individual has been considered responsible for the deviance? Can there be other way possibility that social structure may constrain the individual to go for a deviance? So the individual responses, way of individual responses would be understood by us. All right? You'll find the words like conformity, innovation, ritualism, redetism, rebellion. These 5 plus minus, plus plus, minus plus, minus minus, plus minus, plus minus. Such kind of diagrams will come out. But the uniqueness of the theory, that at prima facie, if I say he is a conformist, then he is not a deviant. And if I say someone to be deviant, he is not a conformist, isn't it? But particularly in his analysis of anomy, disjunction between the institutionalized means and socially approved goals, you will find about that at a given point of time, the person who is a conformist is also a deviant. These questions are coming to you, dear. And still we are searching that how this question came up. Look at, talk about social structure, talk about a deviance. In a deviance, you try to look at the anomy. Try to find out how the anomy, analysis of anomy of Martin is different from that of Durkheim. Normlessness, weakening of the norms. Where he will be talking about anomic division of labor, Durkheim. Durkheim will also be talking about anomic society. Try to find it. The moment you talk about the concept of anomy, it will always finding the line that the concept of anomy was introduced to sociology by Durkheim. Agreed. Some interpretation of anomy has also been done by Parsons. That when the individual's need disposition takes a precedence over the collective goal orientation, anomy takes place. Then how Martin is different. And do you know, anomy is also being today now used differently by the urban sociologist to describe the impersonal relationship, depersonalization that is taking place in urban centers. So you will be finding about, and that way the comparison would be done. And the last one which was added a few years back is a George Herbert Mead. I'm sorry to say this line. I don't know UPSC really wanted Mead to be the part of the syllabus or not. The way the themes have been picked up in all the 5 scholars, right from Karl Marx to Durkheim to Max Weber to Talcott Parsons to Robert King Martin, that kind of justice has not been done with the Herberts, with G.H. Mead. We have picked up only the certain passing reference, self, identity, society. Such concepts have been picked up. Totality of G.H. Mead has not been picked up by. I always ask the students to go for the totality. If a certain kind of questions changes, that you need to anticipate that kind of question. No, there could be a comparison of social action between Max Weber, Talcott Parsons, and G.H. Mead. All right. You talk about the self. You come across the idea in terms of I and me. All right. The kind of indeterminism which you'll have to talk about in G.H. Mead. That G.H. Mead's actor is not a passive recipient. He is an active agent. And that way he'll be moving away from the functionalists, from the positivists. I don't know whether you are there. They were looking at the background, social background of G.H. Mead. The psychoanalytical perspective, the Chicago school. Symbolic interactionism. Though this term was basically coined by Herbert Blumer, the student of G.H. Mead. Then just also try to know what Herbert Blumer has talked about. What are the premises of symbolic interactionism? The questions are being asked to you. how idealism and symbolic interestism have emerged as a critic to positivism. This question has been there few years back in Unit 2. You need to talk about Max Weber. You need to talk about G.H. Mead. I draw certain diagrams to reflect that where the change comes. The moment you read G.H. Mead, you come about the concept of generalized others. But the moment you come to the concept of generalized others, it is the impact of German idealism, Hegel, on G.H. Mead. The kind of indeterminism which are talking about, natural selection, what Darwin has talked about, that has another influence on G.H. Mead, within which we will be talking about the concept of I and me, the two parts of the self composed of I and me. That indeterminism has been talking about. Einstein's, the theory of relativity. And that way, you'll be finding about that how Mead says that now the time has passed, science has moved, it has moved beyond Newton. You are in a pre-Newton, pre-Einstein phase, and that way he becomes critical of the positivism. There you talk about symbolic interestism. Look that in a sequence. Behaviorist, John Dewey and others. C.H. Cooley, looking glass self. Another one who is very famous in a symbolic interestism in a Chicago school. These backgrounds in a brief should be known to you. And then you will be talking about. Usually what I find that most of the students who come out and most of the notes which I am seeing, they are talking about I to me in G.H. Mead. I to me. No, beta, go beyond. This is the most simplistic example. Your approach. There is an I in me. This is the first one. Your first approach. This is the second approach. And there are many me's and many I's. This is your third understanding. Now approach G.H. Mead with anything, you would be more comfortable. All right. Talk about the play stage, game stage. All right. A child can play alone, but the game requires a team. Where he provides the example of baseball, within which the idea of generalized others, the wider community which he belongs to will be coming out. Rules of the games are such. You have to come to that level of understanding. And once you have done this, 6, and we feel 50%, 60%, you feel comfortable. You look, while reading, you will forget something. So constant reading is required. Forgetfulness is a human virtue, Gautam Buddha says. You will not be able to remember everything. Something will go out, something will miss out. So you need to be on your toes to understand that. That's why it says that time and again you will have to read the thinkers. And how to use the thinkers in a segmentalized version, I'll be talking about tomorrow in a third session. And then I'll pick up how to approach the second paper, the most crucial one. But very annoyingly, I just kept only one unit today for 1.25 hours. Then how to approach that? Not knowing the composition of the batch, not knowing the composition of you people, that whether you are from sociology or not, whether you are new, this is the approach. And even if you are from sociology, this is the way you need to read it. And if you have not read it in this manner, you will realize that why you are finding the problems, because that way that labor has to be done. Once you have done this one day, then what you need to do, come to the level of comparison. Comparison in two parts, dear. Comparison in units that we are talking about in terms of themes between the thinkers, and comparison also in terms of methods. Once you have read the 6, you feel bit comfortable, come to this level. All right? And now you do not go through any notes. You just pick up the syllabus, look at the theme, look at the methods, and try to find what are the common areas and between whom. Like they are asking the questions on methods. So you will be talking about Durkheim and Weber, I said it. They are asking you to compare in terms of class capitalism between Marx and Weber. And if I make a line, then Weber says, there is no such thing as capitalism, there has always been capitalisms. Isn't it? So we'll be talking about Verstehen as a method, which you sometimes read Verstehen, understanding, German one. Ideal type. In that method, you need to remember, every question of Weber, we will be talking about Verstehen and ideal type. Right from the social action to the legitimacy, to power, to authority, to bureaucracy, to Protestant ethics and the spirit of capitalism. These two methods will come out, Verstehen and ideal type. This kind of clarity should be there. Historical materialism in Marx, MRT is in Merton. Now you know how to approach that. Your questions, your answers should bring such kind of perspectives. You now need to let the examiner know that you understand the subject. It is not so that you have taken it, you have read it. It's a very painful to media. The teachers like me, sometimes I find that when the serious teaching is done, I find most of the students being uncomfortable. No, I do not want to be abused. I do not want to be accused. Once the course is finished, and when you are taking your mains, when you are sitting taking mains and you realize that these questions I have not understood, your first blame is on the teacher. No, I am not taking that. I don't know. I am the old thought, from the old school of thought. Every time so many people say me, sir, utna deep mat jaiye, chhod dijiye, bacha na karega. मैंने कहा, why? If he has paid the fee, he has chosen me, come to me, let me do the labor. अरे जो अच्छा स्टूडेंट है उसको पढ़ाना तो बहुत आसान है बेटा. The person who is faltering down, or who is confused, who has a problem in understanding, once you labor hard, extra on him, like a mentor, that is the line. That is the responsibility of the teacher. Earning part, that is gone. This is secondary, tertiary dear, which is in previous few years of the teaching. No, I have crossed that threshold. That mentorship should be there. I am responsible for your success. I am also responsible for failures when you have not understood the question. If the question in UPSC has surprised you, then I have not done my best. I do not want to be popular. That how are you, what you do, sitting outside, gossiping, joking with you. No, such kind of popularity I do not want. I want to be popular with my knowledge. And that's why last class I said that when you come to the class for 2.5 hours, it is a serious business, dear. Every 40 minutes, we will be having the lighter weight. It is too difficult for you to sustain the entire 3 hours, 2.5 hours. So sometimes we will be lighter. We will be talking to one another. But when we are doing this one, that should be serious. And I always say that when you come to my class, come with one copy, question bank, and a syllabus. Nothing else. If you have not read, don't read. but read perfect. Do not read from this some kind of social media and other things. All right. Come as a blank slate, tabula rasa. I don't want to erase because some prints will always be there. Let's come. But if you read from the standard book. And let the class be two-way traffic. And that's why I say that one, you have become comfortable with this one. You have taken all the pain to become comfortable with the 6 scholars. Then come to the comparison. And the comparative analysis should be must. Not written anywhere, dear. Look at the nature of questions. PYQs will make you that you are in the right direction. That will give you comfortability. For example, when reading historical materialism, or you are reading it social action, or realism, or you are talking about functionalism of matter, then when you started looking at the questions, PYQs, you feel, yes, I understand the question. I know what the contents are. Isn't it? You are also comfortable that how it has to be contextualized. Fine. You find that, yes, I am familiar with this one. And then you write the question. All right? But you must come at the end, when you have finished the 6 scholars, to the level where you are going to compare one with another. And if you are not comparing, then you are certainly missing how to approach the thinkers. So once again I say, what you basically need to do, that you need to go through the socio-historical background which is not written there. Whatever you read, whichever the book which you pick up, pick the standard book. Try to go the predecessors of the thinker. All right. With whom he was influenced, with whom he agreed, with whom he disagreed. What were the point of disagreement? And the moment you come to what is the point of the disagreement, you will find about the comparative analysis. You will find about the certain orientation. You will find about the certain perspectives. That debate should be there. And then you will be looking at the themes. You know, once you become comfortable with and you have given enough time, adequate time to understand the socio-historical background, themes will be secondary. You would be able to realize that why these themes have come out. Why Durkheim talks about, why Marx talks about, what Merton talks about, why G.S. Mead picks up such. That themes will automatically be coming. You do not have to turn to the syllabus every now and then. All right. And then once the comparison has been done there, with the substance, with the content, with the contest, I gave you the 2-1. That symbolic indeterminism as a non-positivist one, in which Einstein will be coming out, indeterminism of Darwin will come out. You do not look at. You only look at self made of I and me, play and game stage finish. No, better. You are not doing justice. Don't read in that manner. If you really want to qualify with sociology, do some labor. This much is required. Most of the students, I always say that you come with a question bank. And I ask them every day, I ask them, look at this question. Look at this. I remember most of the questions. Because this is the way which I have been doing it. Right from morning to the evening, this is the same thing which I have been doing it. But now I have come to the age where I do not want much. Large number. I want the mentorship kind of one. That is not only knowing, but also discussing. If the problems are there, I am easily available to you. I have come to the age where I am 52, 53. 1 year here and there, I am used to same age of your father. Now I want this seriousness should be there. You need to show the character of the students. You need to show that your analytical skill. What is to be written, what has to be given, I'll just give it to you. Don't come. That's why I said, if you don't want to read, don't read. Come blank. Let me write it. From basic to the advanced. That way the approach would be done. And once the moment we will start discussing the questions of the PYQs, I'm not talking about the last few years. I'm talking about from where, whatever you want to do from the history of civil services questions in sociology. All right. You will start realizing that why sir has started talking about the socio-historical background. Why sir is talking about the comparison. All right. Now, once you have done this one, then look at this. When we have said about thinkers, you have done their past in socio-historical background, and then the thinker was a present, and you are, because of time, you are standing here, dear. You who is reading the thinkers from Karl Marx to G.H. Mead is here. When Karl Marx and G.H. Mead were here, some scholars were already there. Let's have that sequence. All right. Self-evaluate. Criticize. Do not look at the books that who has said this, sociologist has said so, this scholar has said so, this scholars. This is the later part. Since you are here, and if you have become comfortable, then you will find about the flows. Every thinker, his analysis will provide its own nemesis. And once you have understood well, by standing here, you will find about the certain weaknesses. You will find about the certain criticisms. So here, first go for self-criticism. Jot down 3 points. And then go for sociological criticism. Try to find out the match points. And usually sometimes what you do, you have forgotten the name. And you think that you are so smart. Instead of X, you write Y names and you just write it. No. You have forgotten, let it forgotten. Don't quote. But your criticism should be up to the point. And believe me, dear, 2 or 3 times when you have read the thinkers, you would not be able only to understand thinkers, ins and outs. You will be having a certain kind of mastery. You will also be able to remember their critics. Few critics will be there on your tips. And then evaluate. So certain questions of relevance comes out. And not only talk about evaluation and relevance, add one word. That how these thinkers' themes could be extended to understanding Indian society and its relevance. Relevance of Marx in the third world countries, including India. Relevance of Weber. Isn't it? You look at that perspective. You find about the questions whose theory you consider to be more apt in understanding social change in India, Marx or Parsons. Go through that. And if you look at the second paper I'll be talking about, you will finding about the similar things in a Marx, a structural functionalism. So the moment you talk about Durkheim, Talcott, Parsons, Merton, structural functionalism, and its premises, its postulates will be known. Its propositions would be known to you. Once you are aware of the propositions, then how the Indian scholar, which is named over there, like M.N. Srinivas is in the syllabus, that how he has applied structural functionalism in Indian society. What are the tenets? So that way the relevance would be understood by you. And that way you would be able to link first paper with the second paper. All right. How to use the thinkers once you have read the thinkers in totality. Tomorrow I'll discuss about how to use, once you have become comfortable with the totality, holistic analysis of the thinkers, how to use them in segmentalized dimension in the unit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And not only in unit 5 to 10, but how to extend their thought in the understanding of Indian sociology and Indian society and its different facets. All right? You just go through the way which I have talked about the thinkers. All right? Feel the difference. Feel the comfortability of yours. And you will be finding how much confident you are. If any one of you who will be watching the video or who is watching the video, all right? If there is any kind of queries, I am writing down my number. 98105 71079. All right? Dr. Surendra K. Singh. All right. Drop in the message. Sometimes in the class, I will not be able to pick up your call. So if you want to know anything, if any kind of clarity is there, or any clarification if you want, if you are in a doubt, you are in doldrum which one to pick, or if you have read sociology somewhere and then you are still finding certain problems, not fetching the marks, where the things are lacking, just drop the message. All right? And this is the number 98105 71079. All right? But for when you drop the message, when you call me, you must have a purpose. No good morning, good night, no. Enough. All right? There must be certain, that this is the things which I want to know. I am opting for sociology, or I am planning to do, or I am taken the sociology, I have done the course somewhere, but still I am finding certain problems. Just, if you have some need, call me or drop me the message. All right? So I'll meet you tomorrow by the same time, 2 o'clock. Thank you.